Good morning and welcome to Ayubowan Sri Lanka. Ayubowan Sri Lanka is your show that brings eminent personnel from diverse range of fields. Today we have with us Mr. Hemantha Warnakulasuriya, and he is the President Counsel, eminent lawyer and a diplomat. Ayubowan. So now Mr. Warnakulasuriya, to start our discussion, as an ambassador, what are your reflections on the international community and the diaspora and their efforts in trying to prevent the war when the war was ongoing, and whether there were efforts to destabilize the process in Sri Lanka, and if so, how and what did you do to overcome the situations? If you can elaborate on that.
As an ambassador and as a former, before I became an ambassador, I was a President's Counsel, and we have read in many newspapers, in the public fora, public domain, about the international conspiracies that are being staged by various agencies to destabilize Sri Lanka. Now, it was my perception, my conception, that this is all a story built by the government in order to ward off any accusations that is brought by the opposition. I was wondering, why should these large countries, the NGOs and the NGOs, should interfere in matters relating to Sri Lanka? And why should they do this? We don't have oil, we don't have any other important strategic location, I thought, and there was no reason for them to come and then make inroads to our political structure, change governments, assassinate political leaders, and do various things. But then later only, when I became a diplomat, I found how wrong I was. There is always a perception that any country must either belong to the West or to those days during the Cold War to the Soviets, and then we became a non-aligned movement. Non-aligned movement was also considered pro-Russian, and then later, when the Americans were able to dismantle the Soviet Union, the question remained how much and how important it is for the larger countries like the European Union, like the United States and other countries, to have a hold on every single country before these countries get aligned to any power bloc. Now you might wonder, when the Soviet Union has disappeared, there is no other power bloc. The only power bloc is the US. But then there is always the US and the other countries always believe that there is a possibility these people might sway to a emerging nation like China, India, and Russia. And Deepamala, you will not believe this. Now we have several embassies throughout the world, and though a small country, we have a large number of embassies, most important cities in the world. The Tamils do not have, the Tamil diaspora, they don't have a single embassy. They have, there is a large, about 500,000 or more, about 1 million Tamils now live abroad, and they have formed into a very strong Tamil diaspora, and the main objective is to ensure that they have their own separate state carved out of Sri Lanka. Now Prabhakaran was only a tool they used. Prabhakaran was given money and given a contract. The contract was ensure that a separate state is established in Sri Lanka. We will provide the funding. But then, so therefore, he was virtually, the Tamil diaspora always believed that he was a ruthless fighter. He was the only person who will not compromise their strategy of obtaining or having a separate state, and their goal and their mission was that. And Prabhakaran was the only Tamil leader they found will not compromise with this situation. So then they have collected millions and millions of dollars, and you know that at the moment we know that according to the statements revealed by KP, there are 17 ships that the LTT possesses. And there is, with this ship, in this, they don't not only carry arms, they also carry smuggled drugs. And there is huge, I mean, I believe over $5 billion maybe their net capital in the amongst the Tamil people. So therefore, they are so powerful, but they have the money. Our Sri Lankan government does not have so much money to spend on, and they are prepared to entertain, they are prepared to discuss these problems, they are even prepared to buy over various politicians, not directly, not bribery, but you know, every politician, like in Sri Lanka, now even in the US, even in Norway, even in Europe, there are politicians who have to contest, and they want money. So it's not an illegal thing for them to collect funds. Now we know that the Tamil diaspora has collected money and given to Mrs. Hillary Clinton, the President Secretary of State, and Barack Obama. Later, of course, they have supposed to have returned it. But then that is the connection they have. And that is why suddenly they make statements. So, and then also congressmen. Now in US, congressmen elected every 2 years. They go to the congressman's office, they talk to them, and they discuss these matters with them. So therefore, they have established a broad nucleus in order to ensure that separate state is carved out. Now, the problem they faced was this man called Mahinda Rajapaksa, our president, because they found that Mahinda Rajapaksa was the only leader who will not succumb to the pressures of the international community. He has his own agenda. He was prepared to fight the war to an end. Now, this is something quite unusual, because they always felt you can bring sufficient pressure on any political leader, Sri Lankan leader, and prevent them from going further, prevent them ever fighting the LTT. Now, in order to, with the Mavillaru, opening of the Mavillaru, when the war started, they did everything possible to prevent the government of Sri Lanka, headed by His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa, from persecuting or continuing with the war against the Tigers. Yeah.
So, just to make a clarification, when you said the Tamil diaspora, you were referring to the LTT International, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, because I must say that there are also equal number of Tamils who do not agree with the philosophy of LTT. They are very disturbed by the murder, mayhem, destruction caused by the LTT. They also feel that they are abroad, and their relatives, their relations are suffering under the hands of it. The children are being taken as child soldiers, and their food is being stolen by the LTT, and there is untold misery and suffering. And they want, like every other person in the world, they want to live a decent, happy life. They want to have their democratic rights. That's quite reasonable, quite understandable. But so this section of Tamils do not have a voice of as much as the LTT diaspora, because they have not organized themselves into a group to fight the LTT.
And in this context, you were also referring to how the LTT International Network works. So, what can you say about Bruce Fein and the Tamils against genocide?
Now, Deepamala, it was when they found that the army was unstoppable, and there was these two people, Mahinda Rajapaksa, the president, and his brother Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who did not give in to the international pressures.